Let's start here. In February, we talked about Black love needing safety. But let's tell the truth. Historically, Black women been the safety. Not just in romance, in community, in culture, in crisis, in utter collapse. And I need us to shift something in March 2026, like shift it immediately. Because the world loves praising Black women for resilience. But resilience is literally what you develop when life keeps putting its foot on your neck. Divinity is who you are before the pressure of life arrived. That's the difference. We've been branded the strong Black woman like it's a compliment. Meanwhile, it's really a job description. Strength was our survival. Divinity is our original design. And somewhere along the line, our sacredness got reduced to our endurance. We got praised for how much we carry, but rarely are we honored for what we actually are. And you can see the proof everywhere. We celebrate Black girl magic, but the minute it's not packaged pretty, performative, or profitable, now she's too much. Now she's aggressive. Now she's difficult. Now she's intimidating. Now she needs to be humbled. That's not feedback. That's society being allergic to a Black woman who is spiritually regulated and not looking for permission. Because let's be real. The world loves a Black woman that's talented, as long as she's also tired, as long as she's also quiet, as long as she's also grateful for the crumbs. But a Black woman who knows she's divine, a Black woman who rests, a Black woman who says no without a speech. And now it's a problem. And if you need examples, look at how Michelle Obama had to be flawless just to be called acceptable as our First Lady. No scandals, no slip-ups, no humanity allowed, just excellence on demand. Look at how Serena Williams had to be perfect and polite and dominant, only to still be questioned, penalized, and ridiculed for her power. Literally the greatest athlete of our era, and still treated like she needed to prove she belongs. Look at how folks treat Beyonce, Queen B. The moment she stopped explaining herself and started moving like a whole institution of Black legacy. When she stopped being accessible and started being intentional, suddenly she is cold. Suddenly she is calculated. Suddenly she's not allowed to protect her family. No, she is sovereign. Ooh, look at Jasmine Crockett. Speaks plainly, intelligently, and oftentimes unapologetically Black in political spaces. And instead of being respected for clarity, she's labeled aggressive and ghetto. Because a calm, informed, yet stern Southern Black woman who doesn't code switch or flinch is terrifying in rooms built on intimidation. Ooh, y'all done got me started. Ooh, okay, look at Cardi B. Y'all call her everything but human while she's surviving intimate betrayal, navigating public humiliation, raising children, and still maintaining a career under a microscope. And she's either too loud, too emotional, or too messy. Never allowed to just be a woman experiencing her life, her real life in real time. Don't even get me started on the way y'all got love for and drag black women in the same breath, just in general, on like every podcast. Just take the mics away. Let me just take a minute. We praise black women when they're carrying everybody, but we punish them when they finally put the weight down. So when I say black women are divinity, not just resilience, I'm not trying to sound poetic. I'm stating accurate facts. Because before colonization, before the industrialization, before patriarchy globalized control, black women weren't just surviving. We were the anchors to all that exists. Not because men were weak, but because we were the regulators of the rhythm and the balance in the beat. In many ancient African systems, women were spiritual intermediaries, healers, midwives, land keepers, economic organizers, memory holders, warriors too. And leadership didn't look like domination. It looked like regulation. Matriarchal systems didn't mean women ruled men. It meant women helped regulate the community's stability. There is a difference. And once we understand that, we start to see how disgustingly distorted the strong black woman trope really is. Because strength without rest is exploitation. Resilience without reverence is extraction. Divinity doesn't beg. Divinity doesn't perform. Divinity doesn't collapse just because it's not being applauded. Divinity regulates. Now let's get into the part they refuse to teach black girls. Girlhood to puberty, the cycles, menopause. This is not just biology. This is our divine design. A black girl is born intuitive, observant, emotionally perceptive, environmentally aware. And then puberty hits. And suddenly her body starts cycling monthly, hormonal shifts, emotional shifts, energetic shifts. And instead of teaching her, you're cyclical, we teach her, you're dramatic. Instead of teaching her, you're intuitive, we teach her, you're doing too much. Instead of teaching her, you're in rhythm with nature, we teach her, you need to control yourself. But nature isn't linear. Nature isn't black and white. Nature is cyclical. Nature is colorful. The moon cycles. The ocean moves in rhythm. The seasons change, the flowers bloom and then wither. And so does the womb. A black woman's cycle mirrors nature's design. There is planting, there is nurturing, there's harvesting, and then there's rest. And society expects us to operate in harvest mode every single day like we are machines. That's not strength, that's disconnection. And when women are forced to live disconnected from our cyclical intelligence, we become overwhelmed and exhausted, not enlightened and empowered. Now let's take it deeper and start with puberty. When a black girl's body begins to shift, when her hips widen, her chest rises, when her womb begins to cycle, when the crimson wave appears for the first time, that moment is not inconvenience. It is divine initiation. Her body is announcing, I am aligned with the rhythm of the earth now. I am prepared to become a creator of life. But instead of honoring that moment as sacred, We hand her pads in a plastic wrapper and tell her to keep it quiet for fear of shame and embarrassment. We teach her to hide what is holy and sanctified. We tell her she's moody. We tell her she's irrational. We tell her to manage herself so that she doesn't make other people uncomfortable. Nobody tells her, your body is learning how to create life. Your nervous system is recalibrating. Your intuition is heightening. Your emotional range is expanding. Nobody tells her that cyclical does not mean unstable. It means powerful. So from puberty on, a Black woman is cycling through seasons every single month. There is a time she is outward and magnetic. This is during her ovulation phase, which creates expansion and visibility. There is a time where she's reflective and inward. This is our menstrual phase, providing release and reflection. There is a time she is creative and initiating. This is our follicular phase, stimulating vision and initiation. There is a time she requires rest and recalibration. This is our luteal phase, and it ushers in discernment and preparation. And instead, society demands she stay consistent. Let's be fucking for real. Demanding consistency in a cyclical body is a dangerous and destructive myth. Give me a second. I get passionate. I'm sorry. Okay, so then we move into menopause. Menopause is not decline. I just want to clarify. It's divine culmination. In many traditional systems, postmenopausal women were revered as our wise elders because once the body stops riding the crimson wave, the energy that once prepared for the creation of life begins preparing to pass down generational wisdom. Her voice sharpens, her discernment strengthens, her tolerance for nonsense evaporates. Her knowledge is now applied. And society calls it attitude, but it's really refinement. So when people call Black women too much, half the time they're responding to our disciplined regulation. Spiritually regulated women do not panic easily. Mentally regulated women don't crumble under pressure. Emotionally regulated women don't beg for validation to confirm identity. And that is intimidating in systems built on control. Let me say this for the Black women in the back of the bus. We are not just emotional. We are cyclical. We are not always chaotic. We are strategic. We are not simply dramatic. We are rhythmic. We are not just resilient. We are spiritual infrastructure. And I know this personally because my entire life, I've been called too much, too deep, too aware, too intuitive, too intense. But guess who they call when clarity is needed? Guess who they call when they are on the precipice of change and growth? Guess who they call when accountability is required? Guess who they call when someone's life is on the edge and they need warm truth instead of cold comfort? The same woman they labeled as intimidating. The same woman they labeled as difficult. Because divinity feels threatening to those who only understand hierarchy. So this week, I want Black women to remember We are not accidents. We are not burdens. We are not emotional liabilities. We are design. We are divine. And when you start seeing yourself as divinely designed, you stop apologizing for your depth. You stop ignoring your intuition. You stop shrinking the rhythm in your hips to make other people feel comfortable with that ass bouncing to the beat of your own drum. Black women are not just resilience. We are divinity forced to learn resilience. And there is a difference. And since we're telling truth, let's talk about who benefits from us forgetting that we're divine. Who profits from us forgetting that we're the architects? Because it's not random. It's not accidental. It's not just culture. Capitalism and patriarchy are in a group chat, and baby, they are organized. Sweetheart, capitalism doesn't care about your cycle. It requires your productivity. Patriarchy doesn't care about your divinity. It requires your obedience. And the most dangerous part, Black women are the emotional and spiritual powerhouses driving both systems. We birth the labor, we raise the workers, we manage the families, we regulate the households, we hold the community together. Hold on, I'm running out of fingers. We show up to work even when we're bleeding. We show up to work even when we're grieving. We show up to work even when we're exhausted. And then they call it work ethic. Oh, child, no. That's all labor extracted for free. Capitalism loves a Black woman who ignores her luteal phase and clocks in anyway. Patriarchy loves a Black woman who's intuitive but quiet about it. The system thrives when us women override our bodies and our nervous systems. And then here comes modern day feminism. Talk about boss babes. Out-earn him. Out-hustle him. Be independent. Don't need no man. And I'm just sitting here like, so we're liberating ourselves by willingly and internally adopting the same exact grind culture that's literally killing us? That's not liberation. That's rebranding the cage. That's women's history repeating itself. Now, before y'all get tight, I'm not anti-ambition. I'm actually known to be too ambitious myself. But I am anti-exhaustion being marketed as women's empowerment. Then you have the nerve to flip it. After becoming the boss babe, who out-earns every man, you backtrack and say you wish you had a man to share it with. Or you double down because what do you need him for when you're the independent queen that you fought and worked so hard to become? I've even witnessed the boss babe archetype trick men into thinking they make less, so he pays for everything. Meanwhile, she not investing much of anything into the relationship. Remember, she's a boss, so she worked too. So she not cooking, she not cleaning. You guys have created this modern day feminism that done turned into entitlement culture with a cute logo. It went from we deserve rights to I deserve everything without any accountability, period. And those are not the same. Divinity is not entitlement. Divinity is responsibility. Divinity is discipline. Divinity is discernment. Divinity is humility without self-erasure. Now here we are, and somewhere along the way, y'all removed humble from your character trait because somebody told you humility makes you small. No. False humility makes you small. True humility keeps you grounded in your power. Humility doesn't shrink. It means know who you are so deeply you don't have to perform humbleness. Making yourself smaller only reduces you into nothing. On the flip side, making yourself inflated reduces you into irrelevance. Some of y'all will flip between the two, making yourself small, and when that don't work, you inflate yourself. Confusing humility and stuck in this toxic self-loathing cycle driven by your desperate need for validation. Which brings me to the pick-me-sha epidemic. Yes, I said it, and I'm already knowing some of y'all real tight. But let's keep it a buck. Because if we're going to talk about patriarchy, we have to talk about this disgusting addiction to male validation that keeps the patriarchy alive and very well. Pick-me-sha, girl, you don't actually want love, baby girl. Most of y'all don't even actually want the man for real. You want to win. You want to be chosen. You want to be recognized as worthy. You want to be seen as, I'm not like them other girls. You want to be seen with any man that is willing to fit in that fantasy you already created as a little girl. And the gag is, the entire performance centers who? Men. And then we got the girlies on the flip side, riding the decenter men trend, which sounds revolutionary until you realize it centers who? Men. Because if your identity is built around proving you don't care about men, proving how bored you are with men, proving how you don't want or desire men, you are still orbiting men, baby girl. As many of us ladies struggle with accountability, this next part might go over some heads and trigger many others. Your focus shouldn't be centering men. Your focus shouldn't be decentering men. Your focus should be your divine sovereignty. Sovereignty says, I relate to men platonically, professionally, and romantically from wholeness. Not from hunger, not from bitterness, not from competition, not from rebellion, from wholeness. Because here's the uncomfortable truth most of my ladies do not want to hear. Majority of women don't want patriarchy to fall. You just want to be at the top of it. And that's not divinity. That's ambition without self-awareness. And capitalism loves that shit. The patriarchy loves that shit. They'll give you a seat right at the table, as long as you don't question who controls it. So when I say Black women are architects, I'm not talking about us becoming better employees in broken systems. I'm talking about us redesigning the system. starting with regulating our own nervous systems, starting with aligning our lifestyles with our cycles, starting with how we relate to each other in sisterhood, starting with learning how to relate to men without orbiting them. Because a sovereign woman doesn't need to be picked. And she doesn't need to prove she doesn't care either. She builds. She communes. She chooses. She exists. That's divinity in motion. But if we're honest, most of us were never taught divinity or sovereignty. We were forced to learn survival. So the real question that gets to the root becomes, why are we like this? Why do we compete with each other? Why do we orbit men? Why do we inflate and then shrink? Why do we struggle with genuine sisterhood? Why does sovereignty feel foreign? We didn't start here. We were conditioned here. So let's take it on back. Slavery didn't just steal labor. It disrupted lineage. It disrupted gender roles. It disrupted protection. It disrupted the family structure. It disrupted the village. Black women were forced into labor alongside men, forced into sexual exploitation, forced into mothering children in trauma, forced into resilience as a permanent state. Strength stopped being a choice and it became a requirement. And when slavery ended, does it look like the system stopped? Ladies, the system evolved. Black Wall Street burned, Rosewood destroyed, Tulsa erased, prosperous Black cities dismantled. Every time Black communities built something sovereign, it was met with violence. Jim Crow followed, and then segregation followed, redlining followed, educational sabotage followed, and who held it together through all of that? Black women. Holding households while our men were lynched, holding families while our men were jailed, holding communities while policies stripped our wealth. And then came the civil rights movement, and while the world remembers the men, it was women like Ella Baker organizing, Fannie Lou Hamer strategizing, Septima Clark educating, Shirley Chisholm running unapologetically. Black women have always been the architects, but rarely are we in the headlines. Okay, let's continue. Then came the crack epidemic. Mass incarceration exploded with Reagan's war on drugs. The prison system became an extremely profitable business. Welfare policies incentivized mothers' independence while instigating fathers' absence from the home. Once again, our communities were destabilized. And guess who had to stretch themselves thin and make it work? Black women. Now, we're raising children with severely limited support. We're forced to navigate systems designed to entrap. We're trying to survive in neighborhoods deliberately underfunded, ultimately creating a dog-eat-dog environment and crabs in a bucket mentality. Add redlining, add food deserts, add education gaps, add over-policing, and then a layer of media programming on top. Hypersexualization, video vixen culture, music that glamorizes dysfunction, reality TV that monetizes chaos, gaming that glorifies violence, beauty standards rooted in proximity to whiteness, colorism, texturism, body politics. We are constantly being told, be desirable, be strong, be independent, be submissive, be ambitious, be humble, be quiet, be nice, be soft, be unbreakable. Pick a lane. There isn't one. And then religion enters the chat. Sometimes as a God-given refuge, sometimes as the devil's reinforcement, teaching women to serve, to submit, to endure, to forgive endlessly, to pray through the abuse, to keep the family together at all costs, to sacrifice yourself in the name of love for others, without teaching standards, without teaching boundaries, without teaching regulation, without teaching communication, without teaching sovereignty, without teaching divinity. And let's not even pretend secret power structures don't exist. Sororities and fraternities, elite and exclusive institutions, political and religious alliance, capitalistic corporate hierarchies. The West runs on networks. And historically, Black women have been excluded from the rooms where power consolidates. So we learned to build power socially through affiliation, through influence, through proximity, through accomplishment, which is why validation became the most valuable currency, which is why being chosen became survival, which is why sisterhood is fractured. Because when resources and opportunities are scarce, competition increases. When safety and security are a rarity, territorial behavior increases. When protection and provision is unstable, validation seeking increases. This is simply a logical trauma response. It is definitely not sovereignty and divinity. Wait, and we cannot forget to add childhood trauma and conditioning to the list. Little Black girls told to be strong, told to help your mama but don't talk back, told to grow up fast but don't be fast, told to be independent but don't forget to use men, told to not be too much but be everything we need you to be. Trophy daughters, abused daughters, parentified daughters, emotionally neglected daughters, girls praised for being mature for their age because they rarely had the opportunity to be a child. And when a little girl is not protected, she grows into a woman who protects herself at all cost, even from other women. So now you have grown women navigating patriarchy, navigating capitalism, generational trauma, beauty politics, religious conditioning, emotional siphoning, educational sabotage, media distortion, and we're surprised sisterhood feels fragile? Of course it does. We inherited brilliance, but we also inherited hypervigilance. We inherited leadership, but we also inherited survival patterns. Women's History Month isn't just about celebrating. It's about remembering accurately. Remembering Harriet Tubman was strategic and a savage. Remembering Sojourner Truth was radical and real. Remembering Ida B. Wells documented and told truth when it was dangerous. Remembering Madam C.G. Walker built economic systems and sisterhood. Remembering Toni Morrison created safe spaces by preserving narrative sovereignty. Remembering Angela Davis challenged carceral logic and fought to abolish the prison industrial complex. And also remembering some women upheld the patriarchy. Some women sabotaged sisterhood. Some women enforced respectability politics. Some women policed other women's bodies. Some women sided with the power instead of protection. History is layered. So when I ask, why are we like this? I'm not condemning us. I'm contextualizing us. We are the daughters of interrupted villages. We are the granddaughters of survival. We are the inheritors of both strategy and scar tissue. And scar tissue protects, but it also hardens, which is why healing requires awareness, not just aesthetics, not just vibes, not just brunches, not just matching outfits and hashtags. Actual regulation, actual accountability, actual rebuilding, actual sovereignty, because the system that shaped us is real, but so is our capacity to redesign it, and that's the part we're stepping into this month. Not blame, not shame, awareness and accountability. Because once you understand why we are like this, you stop attacking each other. And you start rebuilding sisterhood. You start rebuilding our families. And you start rebuilding our communities differently. And this is where Women's History Month stops being symbolic reels, memes, and quotes for social media and becomes strategic. Because Harriet Tubman wasn't just brave, she was organized. Ella Baker wasn't loud, she was deliberate. Madam C.J. Walker didn't just sell products, she built infrastructure. Angela Davis didn't just critique, she studied systems. Michelle Obama didn't just smile flawlessly. She navigated power with precision. Serena didn't just swing a racket. She mastered discipline under surveillance. Beyonce didn't just go private. She structured her legacy. Jasmine Crockett doesn't just speak passionately. She understands policy. And Cardi B isn't just emotional. She's surviving betrayal in public while maintaining provision. Different lanes, all the same pattern. Architecture. None of them are perfect, but none of them are accidental either. And the truth is, as phenomenal as all the ladies I mentioned are, we don't need more idols. We need more integration. Because divinity isn't about celebrity. It's about regulation. And rebuilding doesn't start on Instagram. It starts in your nervous system. It starts in how you talk to yourself. It starts in how you care for and love on you. It starts in how you talk about other women when they leave the room. It starts in whether you clap or compete. It starts in the genuine compliments and how you deliver constructive criticism. It starts in whether you can witness another woman's softness without judging or ridiculing her. It starts in whether you can witness another woman's power without shrinking or inflating. Rebuilding sisterhood requires self-awareness. It requires maturity. It requires standards and boundaries. It requires communication. It requires accountability. It requires women who can say, I was conditioned this way and I am choosing differently. It requires women who can admit, I have participated in unhealthy dynamics and I'm choosing to forgive myself and others without collapsing in shame, without deflecting in ego, without wallowing in guilt, without projecting the pride, without hiding behind the aesthetic of empowerment. Because sovereignty it's a quiet confidence. It is not loud insecurity. It is not performative independence. It is not entitlement culture. It is not, I don't need nobody. It is, I know who I am. I know what I require. And I move accordingly. And Black women, if we're the architects, then we have to ask ourselves, what does a sovereign Black community actually look like? It looks like emotionally regulated mothers. It looks like emotionally intelligent daughters. It looks like men who are not emasculated but supported. It looks like sons who are not overburdened with becoming providers before they are healed boys. It looks like women who can relate to men without orbiting them. And it looks like families where power is shared, not weaponized. It looks like sisterhood that doesn't fracture when attention shifts. It looks like women who celebrate each other without calculating hierarchy. It looks like rest being normalized. It looks like cycles being respected. It looks like boundaries being honored. It looks like humility without shrinking. It looks like power without cruelty. It looks like softness without foolishness. It looks like accountability without humiliation. That's architecture, divine architecture. And that kind of rebuilding is not glamorous. It's disciplined. It's slow. It's intentional. It's boring to people addicted to chaos. But it is revolutionary, and it's generational wealth, because capitalism wants you exhausted. Patriarchy wants you reactive. Trauma wants you defensive. But sovereignty wants you regulated. And divinity wants you sublime. And once enough Black women become regulated and sublime, energy shifts, sisterhood shifts, relationships shift, parenting shifts, communities shifts, legacy shifts. That's why they fear spiritually and emotionally regulated Black women. Because a regulated woman cannot be easily manipulated. She cannot be easily divided. She cannot be easily shamed. She cannot be easily distracted. She cannot be easily controlled. She builds. She communes. She chooses. She exists fully without apology. So this month, don't just repost quotes. Embody the discipline. Don't just say Black girl magic. Practice Black girl maturity. Don't just celebrate history. Write her story. Get it? Her story. Resilience kept us alive, but divinity will keep us sovereign. We are the descendants of survival. We are the descendants of architects. We are the ancestors, and it's our turn. I love my sisters.